Hey everyone, it's your good buddy Spider back again with another new episode of the show presented by Uncanny Media. How are you feeling? How's everybody doing out there? It's been alright for me. I don't know, my throat is a bit scratchy. I don't know what's going on. I don't have like a permanent thing going on. It's just a series of lagging throat ailments. Apparently, I had the tonsillitis. I'm feeling better from that. I've still got whatever this long-term cold thing was. It's not the 19. It's not the virus. I don't have any of those symptoms. I have a super light cough that crops up every now and again, but nothing. I don't have any problems breathing. I can taste and smell everything just fine. I don't know. It's just a constant feeling of being kind of run down. You know what I mean? A little bit of stuffiness, just some junk in the throat, scratchy voice. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I'm tired. It's been a day. It's been a bit of a day. Not crazy. Like, nothing specifically. Like, I didn't have a bad day or anything. It's just been a bit of a longish day. But I'm here. We're doing the show. We're doing what we do. So the government shutdown, we're going to go straight to that. The government shutdown is over. As expected, because they could prevent it or basically end it immediately if they wanted to, and they didn't for about 40 plus days. There was a series of bills signed over the course of like 2 days, and it was done. Went through the Senate, went through the House, went to the president's desk, boom, 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 done. Super quick, super simple, and you have to wonder, why couldn't that have been done quicker? Because they didn't want to, because they were making a statement. Procedurally, logistically, these things can be fixed, like, immediately. They don't need to take days and weeks and an entire month to be done. But it's about putting people on the spot. It's about putting people on the record for different things, and it's all for points. None of it's really because nobody ran out of money. The government did not actually run out of money. They just didn't agree on what to spend the money on, so they said, let's just put a pause on the whole thing. And there's no point to that. It's so stupid the more you look at it. A government shutdown is one of the dumbest things that you can do from a federal standpoint. It's just ridiculous. And they're all to blame. I know some people are going to say, well, it was because of this party doing this, and it was because of that party doing that, and the president said this, and blah, blah. No, they're all to blame. Every single one of them. Every one of them went along with it until it was getting to the point where it was problematic, and then they were like, okay, we're done. And then they all signed on board with it, because it was that simple. It literally was that simple. All they had to do was all agree to be like, all right, sure, and that's it. So, the federal government of the United States is back open. This should never have been shut. It never really was shut. They just caused pain to a bunch of people who didn't need to be hurt. All the various workers from the lower levels, they just arbitrarily were like, well, we're not going to pay you for a little while. For no particular reason, honestly. And they've got all their blame game stuff, but it's all over now. This time. This time. We'll see what happens the next time, because this seems to be a thing that's becoming more and more common. And you can blame whatever administration you want. It doesn't matter. It's all about the same, to be honest. Well, that kind of leads in a little bit to the idea I had for this episode. We're going to do another deep dive. We're going to do another thinker of an episode, another philosophical kind of take your facts and twist them around and that kind of thing. Because this is what if. What if? And I was talking with my immediate family. I was talking about with my wife and kid. We were discussing various things about history and whatnot. And we were talking about, what would have happened if we'd never have met, and that would mean my daughter would never have been born, and a bunch of other things. And my daughter was like, oh yeah, and then this might not have happened, and then this might have happened, because she's smart and she picks up things pretty quick, and she's interested in that kind of thing. I said, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's interesting how various events, if they had been any different throughout history, things would be different in your life, right? And I'm going to discuss a few things that might be different in my life if I had made other choices or if certain events hadn't happened, because it's an interesting thought experiment. I don't like to ruminate on it too much. I don't like to push back too deep, because again, as I've mentioned in several episodes, I've been known to be a bit of a brooder. I brood, which means I think about things generally from the past, and then I kind of get morose about them. I get negatively emotional about it. Not in a way that's helping me change or grow, just in ways that's kind of like, and I wallow in self-pity and things. Not often, not anymore. I used to do that a lot. And as you know, I've come a long way since then. I feel much better generally in my own headspace. And I have for a number of years, to be honest. I've been more secure in myself for the last 5 to maybe 5 to 10 years. I don't know if it's been a full 10 years, but at least for the past 5 years or longer, I felt really secure in who I am and what I do and how I feel, and I've done pretty good. I'm stable. I'm super stable. I make rational decisions. And despite some people over the last few years pointing fingers at me and saying, you've got problems, you need to see a therapist, and blah, blah, blah. None of that is true. Because while we all have our issues and things, I'm pretty well in control of everything that goes through my head. And I've come to a lot of terms on things, and I feel pretty good about who I am and what I've done and the decisions I've made. And I haven't always made the best decisions, but I'm at least confident that, you know what, I did my best at the time, and I feel good about where I'm at now. And if I've made mistakes, I've fixed them. And I'm continuing to fix various mistakes that I've made. So let's get into this. Let's talk about what ifs. Because there's a lot of things that could have been different for me. One of the big ones, which we talked about as a family here, that prompted my thoughts for this episode, is what if I had not met my wife, or if we hadn't decided to start seeing each other, or whatever. I had said in the relationships episode, several episodes back, that I'd moved out to Akron, Ohio, which was 2-3 hours away from where I had been living, away from all my friends, all my family. I didn't know anybody else out here, and the relationship that I was in fell apart. So I was kind of stuck out here, low on money. I was not very confident, so my job performance was suffering, and I was in a bad spot. So if I had not met my future wife, and she and I hadn't agreed to have her move into my apartment and us pooling our resources and various things, I would have moved back to. I probably would have moved back to Pennsylvania. I probably would have tried to move back into my parents' house because I don't know where else I would have gone. I didn't really have the time or the funds to look for an apartment back in this area, or, well, the area that I'd moved from. I was despondent. I was kind of out of it, and I would have needed a lot of time to recover, I think. But I would have moved back to Pennsylvania. Potentially, I would have also tried to join back up with the band I'd been in, with Beneath the Scars, if they'd have allowed me to come back, considering that I left them kind of high and dry with the move. And I may not have ever done much else with my solo career. I mean, I'd been doing things with solo music for a while, but it had been a song here, a song there. I didn't have the motivation to do more with that because I'd been working with the band, and my feelings were all over the place. But if I hadn't gone through some of the thought processes I'd gone through with the breakup and all that, then I might not have done the albums that I did. So there might not have been a lengthy Spider in the Hall discography such as it is. And that's interesting to think about. Because a lot of the music and a lot of the songs I've had have stemmed from those old feelings of abandonment, of loss, of betrayal, and various things of that nature. And I don't know if I'd have had the creative confidence to write everything that I have now and do all the albums that I've done now. But you never really know, because I was working on things. Even when I was in Beneath the Scars, I was working on tracks and things here solo. So, but other things would never have happened. Like, my daughter would never have been born. Because I never would have been with her mother, and, things wouldn't have gone in that direction. And it's weird to think about that, because she's 11 years old now. And when we first found out that she had been conceived, we didn't know the gender or anything like that. When we first found out that we were going to have a child, I had a lot of ideas in my mind. I didn't know what to do about it. We didn't know if we'd be able to take care of her. We didn't know if we'd be able to put her up for adoption. There was the one alternative, and her mom was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that, because she's against that kind of thing in most cases. As like I didn't want this, so we're just going to get rid of it. No, she doesn't see things that flippantly. And I don't want people to think that I'm denigrating that medical procedure. I don't want to mention it because it's one of those hot button things that the various podcast things might latch onto and say, oh, well, this isn't something that we want you to be talking about. Which is not particularly fair, but certain words can trigger certain things and certain actions, and I don't want my episodes to get messed with. But she was, and like I said, I'm not indicting the people who do choose to go through that procedure. I'm not taking that kind of a stand. I didn't vote for any particular actions for or against anything like that, for anybody who wonders. So I'm not an enemy or an ally or whatever. I don't really have a stake in that because that's not something that I can physically do with my body. So it's got nothing to do directly with me. If you decide you want to do that, that's up to you. It's not up to me. But me and my daughter's mom, we talked about things, and she said, no, I'm not doing that. So I said, okay. But because we had my daughter, I'm one of those people who, because we were able to provide her a healthy life, and we had no reason not to, other than just the fact that neither one of us had been a parent before, and it was a big step, and we were both kind of scared out of our brains about it. I didn't feel like it was right to deprive my daughter of the best life I could possibly give her. She deserved to have the chance to be a person, to live a life. You know, she didn't ask for it, I know, but she's seeing how she is now. She's done very well so far with her life, and I hope that we collectively can continue to give her the best life that we can, and that she can enjoy it, and she can feel like she's healthy, and she's happy, and she's content. But that never would have happened if I would have moved back. And who knows, maybe I would have gone with somebody else, and something else would have gone on, and I'd have a child with somebody else. I don't know. It's always possible. And I have talked with the previous woman that I'd been with when I first moved out this direction before I met my wife. I've talked with her since. We've kind of buried the hatchet, so to speak. We've come to an understanding, and we realized that there were a lot of mistakes made. And one of the things was that she just, I don't remember exactly what the phrasing was. I know that she initiated the breakup, but in her mind it wasn't going to be permanent. In her mind it was not a breakup. It was a break, and that at some point we were going to reconcile everything and get back together. But because that hadn't been communicated to me at the time, and I hadn't, my brain was messed up. My brain was messed up with the whole ordeal, and I broke. I fell apart, and I couldn't function. And I thought I needed anybody to fill the space, which was not fair to my wife at the time. Because at the time I wasn't really particularly respectful. I was just looking for somebody to fill that empty space. I mean, things are much improved now, but I mean, I went into it from a bad place to begin with. And the woman previously, I mean, I don't think she expected me to be destroyed in that fashion. I think she expected me to be a stronger-willed individual, which I had been up to that point, because I'd always been I'd gotten into a place in my mind where I was more secure with myself. Not where I am now, but it was certainly better than where I might have been in my youth. But because something that I had thought was very stable in my life ended up not being stable anymore, it completely shattered me. It broke me into pieces. And so she had thought that there'd always be the chance, a good chance, that things would work back out and we'd figure it out. And because they didn't, it sent her life into a different direction. And we both went into directions that we didn't expect. And that's just how things work. And that's another what if, because you can sit back and say, oh, well, maybe if you'd just waited it out, you guys could have worked things out. But maybe not. You don't know. It's another what if. What if we did try it again and it just didn't work because the trust was messed up there. The trust was not the same there anymore. Right? So one or either of us or both of us could have just not felt the same way anymore. And there's other things after that, like what if my daughter hadn't been conceived, but I was still with my wife now? Would things be the same way that they are now? Because our life is completely different from what it was before. I mean, raising a child will change things irreversibly. They will definitely make things different than they were. A lot of things change when you have a child, especially your first one, because you're so used to a different schedule and a different method of doing things. Like my entire sleep schedule changed, and it's never gone back to, like, I was always kind of a sleep in during the day and stay up late kind of person, but it got more pronounced when my daughter was born, because we found out, because infants will wake up, they'll sleep for like 2 hours at a time, and then wake up, and they'll need fed and changed, and then they'll sleep, and then they'll wake up and sleep and wake up, and they'll do that all day and night. It takes them a while before they'll sleep through the night. So we discovered that the best way to do this was to take it in shifts. My wife would stay up. This was while she was on maternity leave. When she went back to work, and when we both went back to work, things were a bit different. But because I was still working while she was on maternity leave, but what we did was she would watch or take care, not just watch, but take care of and do everything that was necessary for my daughter during the day, from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or something like that. I don't remember what the exact timing was. It was something like that. And then I would watch her for the next 12 hours. I would stay up all night, and I would have to sleep all day during the next day. But I would stay awake all night with my daughter, giving her bottle when she needed it. Because we did, when my wife was awake, she would do the breastfeeding, and when she was asleep, we would do the bottle feeding from the pump. We would try to pump, and we went through a phase where she couldn't produce enough, so we had to move on to formula and do kind of half and half, and then eventually we had to go all formula, which is not, I mean, a lot of mothers, I know you feel pretty kind of like you're letting the baby down if you can't produce enough, but it's a thing that happens. Everybody's bodies are different. Don't worry about it. If you need to do formula, you need to do formula. Nobody should ever make you feel bad for having to switch. I don't see any moral obligation to do breastfeeding over formula if your body can't take it, right? So, but I mean, that's not really my place anyway, because I'm the dude. I can't do that anyway. I don't have the equipment for that. So, but so that's what we did. We did it in shifts, and that firmly established, after enough time, my status as a night owl. I've never quite gone back. I've tried. For a while, there was a time when my wife would get up early for work, and I'd have to wake up early in the morning, and then I would stay up late, and I would be exhausted all the time. But once my daughter got old enough to not need 24/7 care, Like, I could get up and this is what we do now, and this is what eventually came out of all that. She'll wake me up anytime between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. generally. That's when she gets up in the morning. Sometimes earlier, but mostly it's between 8 and 11. And she'll get me up for breakfast because she can't reach the cereal and stuff off the top of the fridge and whatnot. So I'll get her cereal, or I'll put her Pop-Tarts in the toaster or something, and I'll get her breakfast. Once she's got her breakfast, I'll go back to sleep. Because she's excuse me, she's going to eat her breakfast, and then she's going to go back up to her room. Excuse me. She's going to go back up to her room to play, or to read, or to draw, or whatever. And she knows that if she needs something, or if a disaster happens, she'll just wake me right back up. I'm not that heavy of a sleeper that I'll sleep through it, so... So I'll go back to sleep for a couple hours, and then I'll wake up at a regular time every day. Cats knocking stuff off. I wake up at the same time every day after the initial breakfast and going back to sleep. And I have coffee, I take a shower, and then I make her lunch a little while after that at the same time every day. We have a set schedule for lunch and dinner and all that good stuff. And I think it works. And I'm set in that schedule. I don't usually go to bed until 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. But I get enough sleep. And if I hadn't had my daughter, maybe I might not have had that same schedule. I might have... Because we'd been in a habit. We'd been in a habit, me and my wife, of going to bed at a certain particular time every night. We'd go to bed at like between 9 or 10 or something every night, because we both were working and we'd have to get up, and we would have to stay on a particular schedule. And so I might still be on that if my daughter hadn't been born. But I was still with my wife. Now, would we still have moved? I think so, because we moved before we found out that my daughter was going to be born. Yeah, because we still moved from the apartment down here. That was before... Excuse me, goodness. That was before my daughter was conceived, so we'd already done that. Now, here's another what if. If my daughter had not been born, then I would still have been working, because one of the reasons why I stopped working was so I could be a stay-at-home dad to take care of her while my wife went back to work. If she hadn't been born, I would have still been working. Now, would I have still hurt my back? I don't know. Because maybe the mental issues I was going through at the time of dealing with all of that, I might have stayed in sales and not have to lift heavy things, so my back wouldn't have hurt. But my back was always kind of problematic. I'd had issues with my back for a long time. I'd almost thrown it out a couple of times when I was much younger, like 10 years before. So there's always the chance that I still would have ended up with some severe back problems, but I might not have had the debilitating injury that caused me to definitively have issues where I couldn't really work as well as I could have. So I would probably still be working retail, in which case I would have still been there when they announced the store closing, and then I would have had to find a new job at a new store, probably. And I might still be working to this day, in which case, if I was still working, I might not be doing all of these other things that I was doing. Like, I might not have gotten into podcasting, I might not have gotten into the game streams, doing YouTube, all that stuff. So here's another little bit of what if, since we're going in all these directions. Now, let's say let's say I was never approached with the offer to be on the radio. Now, I've already mentioned the name of the radio network and show that I used to work with. I'm not going to give them any more publicity. I'm not going to give them any more positive talk because they frankly don't deserve it. And I don't want to mention the name anymore. Not because of, some people are going to say, oh, because of the legal stuff, right? No, it's because I don't want to give them any more attention because they don't deserve it. I'll let them sink into whatever forgotten depths that they're going to. I don't know what they're up to these days. I've stopped paying attention. I don't care. But I will give credit where credit is due. If I had not been approached to be a part of this radio show network, I would not have learned about the tools that I'm using now to do this podcast. I would not have found... who knows, maybe I would have found out about it some other way, or maybe not. But I wouldn't have found out about it as soon. I wouldn't have found out about Spreaker, which is the main client that I use that then sends out the episodes to iTunes and to Amazon and to Spotify, all those other places. I wouldn't know about all those kind of things. So I will give credit where credit is due. At the very least, working with that show that I worked with before, despite all of the negativity that happened with it, I did get positive work experience out of it, which I do appreciate. Which is funny, because before I stopped paying attention to that person, they had abandoned all of the old formats that they used to do and all of the old programming. They don't use Spreaker, they don't use any of that other kind of stuff. And it's causing them more harm than good, last I knew, which was some months ago. But, live and learn. I learned, and they didn't. And because I did, I'm able to bring you all this great content. Now, what would I have done otherwise if I hadn't gotten into that? Well, I might never have gotten into radio. I might have... I don't know. I had a dim view of YouTube beforehand. If you hear rustling in the background, that's one of the kittens. He's in the curtains here, messing about. I don't know what he's up to. I had a dim view of YouTube. I didn't like it. I hated it. I thought it was full of brain rot, like what we consider all of the TikTok stuff nowadays, and Twitter X and all that other kind of stuff. Reddit and whatnot. And I thought that about YouTube at the time, and I might not have really gotten into it like I do now. And I'm still not, I watch things on YouTube a lot now, but it's because you can see full programs of interesting things on YouTube as opposed to what was around before. But because I've spent more time there doing my own things, it's why I've spent more time looking at other people's things. And so I appreciate it a bit more than I used to. And so, if I had not gotten into trying to do my own thing, the podcasting and the streaming and whatnot, I never would have gotten into YouTube as a whole, and then maybe it would have just never gone anywhere. So, it's crazy to think about all the different what ifs and the different scenarios, and I could go back and detail what if this one girl that I met in second grade, we became school sweethearts and we were together forever and we're now in a happy relationship with a picket fence and everything. You could go back and really dig into that kind of stuff, but I think that gets into a bit much. I don't like to second guess things, because the more you second guess yourself, the more you doubt yourself where you're at now. And if you're going to succeed on any level, you can't have doubt. You can have introspection, and you can have self-awareness and self-examination. Be like, you know what, I could have approached that situation a little bit better. But you can't doubt everything about your life, because then you get nowhere. You cripple yourself mentally. It goes from what if to what should I have done differently. And that's an entirely different line of thought. It's not, oh, what if I had done this different? Oh, that's interesting. Into, oh, maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have done that, or maybe even I should have done this, or whatever. And then you continuously doubt your choices, and you'll always doubt everything you do from then on. And that's just crippling. It's damaging to your psyche. It's damaging to your mental state in a way that's difficult to recover from. And I struggled with a bit of that when I was younger. When I was much younger, in teenage, preteen kind of areas, I would replay scenarios in my mind, like, oh, I should have done this, or I should have done that. Why didn't I do this? No, this is going to happen. And I would just invent awful scenarios in my brain that were now going to happen because I didn't do things the way I should have done. And I don't do that now. I think about things. I think about, well, maybe I could have done this situation better. It's too late now. And I'd make a conscious effort to just be like, well, this is what you decided, so this is what's going to happen. And I'm secure with that. I'm secure with when I think of the what ifs, I don't think about them in a way that I feel sad about them, or I feel a longing or a wistfulness. I'm just kind of like, oh, well, it's too bad. Let's move on. And I think a lot of people get hung up. They get hung up on the opposite. They get hung up on the thought that they could have done something differently but didn't. And they carry that with them for the rest of their lives. And it just eats at them. It just chews away. And it slowly kind of pulls at your decision making for everything else that you think about in life. Because you have that one instance where, you know what? I made the wrong choice. What if I'm making the wrong choice now? Oh no, but what if this is actually the right choice and I think I'm making the wrong choice? Oh no, and it's just a continuous back and forth of indecisiveness. Indecision is one of the worst mental afflictions you can have. Indecision is just, like I said, it's crippling. It is mentally crippling. And a lot of people have that. A lot of people have trouble making decisions in a variety of situations, either professionally or personally, or with relationships, and they can't do it. And it's so easy not to have to make decisions either. You can plug things into AI and say, hey, what do you think I should do, ChatGPT? What do you think I should do, Microsoft Copilot? What do you think I should do, Google Gemini? And it can give you some advice, and you can be like, okay, I'm doing that. And it's so easy not to have to think for yourself anymore. It is incredibly easy to just shut yourself off and expect the world to just function without anything coming from you. Which is kind of a valid point on some level. There's some things you can't really change, like with the whole government thing with the shutdown and whatnot. That was going to happen regardless what any of us were going to do about it. And whoever you voted for in the last election, they obviously didn't do any good for you, because the government still shut down until they decided it was over, and then snapped the fingers and it's all back on track. Literally 41 days shut down, 2 days to get everything back on track. You know, so there's things that you can't change. And so you shouldn't really worry about the what ifs in that regard. What you do want to pay attention to is all the little things in your life that you can change. All the little things that, like how you treat other people, you can decide that. Whether you allow yourself to be treated a certain way by other people, you can decide that. Your career, generally, I mean, I know it's difficult with jobs and whatnot nowadays, but for the most part, you can decide that. You can decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to be in retail the rest of my life, or I'm not. I'm going to do something else. I mean, look at me. I decided a year ago that I didn't want to be stuck doing what I was doing, which was essentially nothing. I was sitting around. I was taking care of my daughter, which is not an unimportant thing, right? But she was getting to an age where she didn't need constant care anymore. And I was having trouble just figuring out what to do with myself. Like, should I go back to work? No, because then I'd have to find her a sitter. Should I put her in daycare? No, because she's not going to get... I still need to be around her, but what can I do when I'm at home that I can still contribute, that I can still make something of the family? And so I started doing the podcasting and the streaming and that kind of stuff. And I told myself, by the end of next year, I am going to make this into something that helps us as a family. I'm gonna put in work. I'm gonna do something that makes it so that we are successful from what I'm doing. And I'm not just gonna feel like I'm just sitting in the house playing video games, doing nothing. And so here I am, a year later. I'm a YouTube partner. By the end of this year, by the end of 2025, going into 2026, I will have become a YouTube affiliate, and I'll be getting ad revenue. And I'll be really contributing a lot more to the family finances, and I feel really accomplished. And people can say, oh, well, all you're doing is sitting playing video games and making videos of it. Well, sure. But it's something that I'm able to capitalize it. I'm able to do something with it. I've tried so many other things independently that failed. Like, I was a musician. I put out so much music, and I never got anywhere with it. My royalties for that are usually about, I don't know, $15 a year. Maybe $15-20 a year at most. And the podcasting is coming along. The podcasting is doing very well. I'm increasing my revenue from that. I have supporters, I have subscribers, which I appreciate. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. If I haven't thanked you lately, I appreciate your indulgence. I appreciate your attention, and I appreciate your trust in me to continue to deliver content that you find enjoyable. Because you can choose to listen and not pay for anything. You can choose to listen and just be like, alright, I'm not going to subscribe, I'm going to listen for free, because you can. And I don't understand. But for the people who are supporting, it means the world. It makes a big difference. And without all of this, my daughter would be in daycare. I'd have to be paying for that. And I would be working a job that I hate, that would be probably causing me pain because of my back issues. And so it's just fascinating. I said like I said, I set a goal for myself. I said I'm going to do this by the end of this next year, and I'm there. I'm there. I'm getting there with a couple of stumbling blocks. Had a couple of issues with people who think they have some kind of legal hold over me, which they don't. And they found out the hard way. And now they're having to deal with the consequences of that. So good luck to them with all of that. But other than a few things, I've managed it. I've built an empire. And I'm not even doing it just for myself either. I have the affiliates. I've got multiple people who I'm helping earn subscribers on YouTube. I'm getting people views and plays. I'm promoting different people. One of the areas that I don't quite understand why nothing is happening there is the record label area. I don't know if it's just my reach or if it's just the way this town is, this local area, but I've put out so many invitations for artists to join up and for distribution and for promotion, because obviously what I'm doing for myself is working. So if what I'm doing for myself is working, I can do it for you, and it's going to work. I know it's going to work. It's a proven strategy, but nobody bites. I have people who say, "Oh yeah, you should have me on your podcast, man. Oh yeah, that's great. Here's a time and here's a day, and just get in touch with me as soon as you're ready." And then they don't. they don't get back to me, and it's kind of like, come on, you asked me. You wanted to be a part of what I'm doing. You know what I can do for you, and you leave me hanging. You ghost me. And artists too, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we should talk. I'm looking. I want to get a distributed. I want to get a merch deal. Hey," and I'm like, "Hey, send me an email. I'm right here. You spell out everything that you want, and we'll have a serious conversation about it." Never hear back from them. Never hear back from them. And I don't get it. I don't get why. I've been really transparent about everything that I'm doing. It's pretty clear that I am succeeding. And I have offered to help other people succeed. And they just have ignored it. The record label stuff is so frustrating because I want to put in a lot more time into it than I am. But I need the artists that want to be involved, because I can't just sit there I can't generate work where there is no work in that field. You know what I mean? Especially when I've approached a lot of people and I've put out the public acknowledgement that, hey, I'm willing to do this for you. Come at me, bro. And they just, I don't know what it is. I know I'm not always the most personable person, but we're not talking about being buddies. We're not talking about being best friends. We're not talking about that kind of thing. We're talking about business. This is business. And I'm looking to do business. I'm 100% willing to do business with people. If we can do business basically just on a quid pro quo kind of situation where I do for you and you do for me and it's just a trade, fine. Nobody loses out on anything. If you're looking to do money, then we'll work on money. We'll work on it. I'm 100% keen on it. And that's another big what if. What if I had run into this this record label and instantly we had a roster of people who were hungry for success, who wanted to get things done, I think not only would I be in a higher position as far as that kind of thing goes, but a lot of other people would too. Like, a lot of artists in this local area would be doing better than they are if we had all worked together. And all you gotta do is come talk to me about it. I got an email address. It's on various bits of my social media. You can find me. You know? I don't know. But what if, right? What if? What if I kept doing these episodes? Because I like doing them. I do like doing them. And what if I had a new one next week around this same time? Would you tune in? I think you should. Don't forget also, we're coming towards the end here, which is why I'm kind of wrapping things up. We've only got about 10 minutes left. Don't forget also to subscribe on the various things that I do. The big one, of course, is the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. To the YouTube channel, Spider Does Things. And you may notice still, even though the last week or so, the last couple episodes I have mentioned at least once, maybe twice, that I'm trying to get these podcast episodes put back on YouTube. I've only got 15 episodes on YouTube right now. And I was going to be quicker with those, but now that I am close to becoming an affiliate and I can get the ad revenue, I think I am going to wait. Because initially they were going to be staggered. Because I was going to put the episodes new here on Spreaker, Spotify, wherever, where we're going to have the ad revenue. And then I was going to wait like a week or two per episode and put them on YouTube. Because YouTube I didn't have the ad revenue on YouTube, so the episodes are going to be there for free. And I didn't want people just waiting to be like, oh, well, it's going to be free next week, I might as well, whatever. You know, I mean, it's valid. Everybody's trying to save some money, but I was trying to, I'm trying to run a business here, right? Trying to run a business. But now that it's going to be, by next year, now that I'm going to be affiliated, I'm going to be able to get ad revenue on YouTube. What I'm going to do is, at that point, I'm going to put the rest of the podcast episodes up there, and I'm going to put them up there quicker, within a day or two at most, because then I'll be able to get roughly the same amount. I know everybody hates advertisements. I get it. I'm not trying to choke you to death with advertisements, but I do have to make money somehow. I do have to make a profit, and this is how I do it with passive income. The passive income is through the ad revenue. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until I'm affiliated on YouTube, and then I'm going to put the remainder of the episodes there, and then try to keep up with it. No promises, because historically I've been kind of bad at it, but I am going to redouble my efforts to be better about uploading the things, because then there'll be ads on both, and you can skip the ads on YouTube, so don't feel too bad. But that way, I won't have to wait. There won't have to be a gap between the two. And that's just me thinking business-wise. I mean, some people are going to be like, oh, you're just trying to get money. Oh, you don't care about your listeners. You're just trying to get paid. Well, no. If I didn't have listeners, I couldn't get paid anyway. It's the listeners that hear the episodes and hear the advertisements that get me paid. So, I require the listeners. If I want to get paid at all, you have to listen. Right? But there's give and take there. Again, it's nothing, unfortunately, is free in this world. And so ad revenue is kind of it's a lesser evil. I have chosen, and I haven't talked about this before, but I have chosen, because I'm, again, an old school kind of punk, anti-advertisement kind of guy. I don't like advertising, but I have to rely on it for my business model. I have decided that I'm not going to do ad reads unless it's for one of my affiliates and they ask me. I'm not going to do paid ad reads for products that I don't have and that I've never tried and that I don't care about. Because there's a thing that you can do via Spreaker. You can opt into an ad promotion program, which a lot of podcasts do. A lot of podcasters, you'll know, they'll get to a certain point in their episodes and be like, oh, and have you ever had a mortgage through what, blah, 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 and let me tell you about these great bacon wraps from such and such, and then they'll do their little thing and then get back. I'm not doing that. Like I said, Spreaker has a program where you can opt in to do that, and then they'll provide you with scripts and various things that they want you to say, and that's too much for me. That's too much into I'm a sellout territory, and I'm not going to do that. So you are free from that. You will not hear me do that kind of thing. Now, if one of my affiliates, say Cooking Basically, she runs a TikTok channel, a blog, a YouTube channel that I'm helping promote. If she came to me and said, "Hey, can you give me a boost? You know, we're looking for a few extra subscribers, or I've got this big event coming up. Can you talk about it on the show?" Yeah, I'll talk about it. I'm not going to read a script, and I'm not going to, you know, I haven't made any of her recipes yet, so I'm not going to say, "Oh, I've made the stir-fried chicken, and it's the best thing I've ever eaten for my family." I'm not going to do that because I haven't done that. But I am going to talk positively about her product because she's a friend of mine and because I see the work that she's putting in. Right? Just like I did with Jack and V, with the novella and the interview. We talked about that. I promoted that. And I did end up buying that, and I have read it. So I wasn't paid to do it. But I will do favors for certain people. So, but you won't have to hear me do like a standard ad read for VPNs or for insurance or for law offices or THC gummies or anything like that. I won't be doing that. I might be many things, but I am not a sellout, and that's selling out, in my opinion. And I'm not going to look down on other podcasters that do that because that's their choice and that's how they want to make their money, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not a spokesperson for these things. I'm not a paid spokesperson. But that's about it. So, what do you think? What sort of what-if situations have happened in your life that could have completely altered the trajectory of that life? Tell me about it. I'd love to hear about it. If you want to drop a comment on Spotify, you can comment on this episode. You can also drop it on Spreaker. I will be able to read them all. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Has your life changed for the better or worse based on decisions that you think you could have made differently? I'd love to hear your story. Draw me some comments, even send me an email if you like. Let me know about it. Until then, though, we're getting towards the last half a minute of the show. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back next week with another new episode. I am doing episodes all the way up through the holidays because I don't celebrate holidays and I don't anticipate having to take a break from that. My various other shows are taking breaks. This Uncanny Earth will be... We have 3 more episodes until the end of the season for this year, and then we'll be back next year in 26. So that's for the next 3 weeks. Musicians Hangout, one of our fantastic affiliates, they've had their final episode of the season, and they're going to close out with their usual holiday special, which is a montage of music videos from multiple artists that they have interviewed or they are friends with. And they're going to do that next week on Monday, and that'll be the end for them, and they'll be off for a certain amount of time before their next season. All of their episodes are still available on YouTube to watch on demand, of course. That is Musicians Hangout. And the same goes true for This Uncanny Earth. This Uncanny Earth still has all of its back episodes available to watch on YouTube. And in the meantime, you'll have me every week, upwards through the holidays and beyond, still doing all the things that I do. Coming up with interesting things to keep your attention with. New episodes, new stuff. No filler, no fluff, no AI. No fancy BS graphics. No new technology that will help spread awareness. Nothing like that. Everything's authentic. Everything is straight from my brain to your ears. And that's it. That's all. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.